You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hi there, Beyond the Gates fans. So things are heating up as we head into Bill and Hayley's wedding at the Fairmont Crest Country Club, and the Duprees are going to be there on the big day, although they are attending under duress. Given that Bill forced Vernon Dupree's hand, I expect a very soapy wedding as a result. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to talk about 5 predictions, 5 things I would love to see happen to give us some wedding day chaos that could bring Hayley to tears and ruin her big day, which is exactly what a homewrecker deserves on any soap. Am I right? Please click subscribe if you're not following us, and let's talk about what could happen. All things considered, Vernon would have told Bill to take his see-through wedding invitation and shove it. The plastic invite was as transparent as the blackmail that Vernon heard in Bill's voice. Although he didn't spell it out for the Dupree patriarch, Vernon knew what Bill meant and what that sly threat was aimed at. And it's tied to whatever is giving Martin Richardson nightmares. That's clearly the subject of the leverage that Bill exerted. He said various things, but when Vernon was talking to Anita, they knew immediately that it was about something they know, we don't, something that Bill has cleaned up related to something that Martin did. And now Dani and the other Duprees have to put on their Sunday best and go watch Bill say "I do" to his much younger bride that betrayed their family. Although BTG is a new soap, showrunner Michelle Valjean wrote for Bold and Beautiful for years, and I do see echoes of some things from her past writing in the writing that's happening on Gates. And so some of the vibe that I expect to see in this wedding are things I've seen in the past on Bold, and I'd like to see them, but maybe even more heightened since she is now not just a writer, but the showrunner and has free reign. So let's dive into a look ahead at some of the things we could see at this wedding. Number 1, bride Hayley is going to face a Dupree wall of hostility bigger than the Great Wall of China. When Anita and Vernon called everybody together for that family meeting, Dani announced she was going to go to Paris to avoid the drama after she face punched the bride-to-be. But her parents told Dani the Paris trip would have to wait. And Anita then said they'll all go along with everybody else in the Fairmont Crest community and that they can sit and glare and radiate hostility. But she said the Duprees don't run and they don't cower from anything. And then when Dani tried to storm out, of course, her dad Vernon followed and reminded her that they don't ever ask her for anything, but this needs to happen. So she caved. The Dupree ladies all show up dressed in black, very funereal garb. They all look great, but definitely not a time of celebration. It's more of mourning. Dani, Nicole, Anita, and their granddaughters all in black, and they're sitting on the groom's side glaring. They are definitely not on the bride's side. It's hard to imagine a bride standing in front of the family of the woman that she did so dirty by stealing her husband. Hayley's got to have a little bit of wedding day nerves to be facing all the Duprees. All right, the second thing I wonder is if Dani will say something snarky if the officiant does the line, "Speak now or forever hold your peace." By the way, I was curious if that line is actually really used or it's just a movie and TV show thing like chalk outlines of dead bodies, because those have never been used in real life, by the way. So it turns out starting way back, 1500s, 1600s, up until into the 1900s, that line was actually used, the speak now thing, to make sure that nobody that was there knew that either the bride or the groom was committing bigamy or marrying a blood relative. Very soapy. And at this point, in modern times, only about 10% of wedding officiants throw it in, and they do it more to be funny at this point was what I was reading. So if BTG does it, I could see Dani getting ready to say some things, but I'm not sure her dad and mom would let her make a scene right then at the wedding. They're sitting right behind her, and, Vernon and Anita are on row 2, and ironically, Dani is on row 1 of guests on the groom's side. I would like to hear what she has to say, but I don't know if her parents are going to let her say it if she tries. So the third thing, Hayley's wearing a gorgeous white wedding gown, but since she basically murdered Dani's happiness by sleeping with her husband and stealing him, I think her dress looking like bloody murder by the end of her big day is the least Hayley deserves. Plus, she keeps telling everybody, I never meant for it to happen. I'm sorry. When you drop your knickers and climb onto someone's husband, you definitely meant for it to happen. You don't just fall on their junk and it's an accident and then you wind up with a ring on your finger. It's very much on purpose. And not only does Dani hate Hayley, but so does Naomi, who is Hayley's ex-best friend. And I'm sure Naomi feels sick that she brought Hayley into their lives. So a little accidental bump while Naomi or one of the other Dupree women are holding a glass of red wine that sloshes all over Hayley's white wedding gown, I think would be karmic. And then Naomi can say, whoops, I didn't mean for that to happen. The fourth thing, if you watch Bold and the Beautiful, you may know that obviously Michelle Valjean wrote there for 12 years. And one of the staples on B&B for big events like family weddings is messy and out of control lady fights, preferably cake fights. On Bold, like so many daytime and nighttime soaps, a good lady brawl is always fun, whether it's in the mud, a fancy fountain, a chocolate fountain, or bashing in several layers of a wedding cake and smearing them in the other person's face. These are always fantastic ways to end a wedding. I would love to see Dani smash some cake right in Hayley's face, and some others join in, and it ends up with a cake brawl. And of course, Anita and Vernon expect appropriate behavior from their daughters and grandchildren, but we all know Dani likes to color outside the lines, like when she punched Hayley the other day. So I'm all about a good cake fight. I'd be down for that. Last on my list, number 5, we may see Bill threaten Vernon at the reception if anything happens to disrupt the happy day of his new little wifey. If Dani speaks out during the ceremony or starts a brawl at the reception, I can see Bill pulling Vernon aside to make more blatant threats. Also interesting is at the wedding reception, there's a scene of Bill, and he's staring very pointedly at the Duprees, looking mostly at Vernon, and one of the lawyers who works with him is at his side. That guy is Tomas Hernandez, and he might have been involved in whatever cover-up or cleanup that Bill orchestrated to get Congressman Martin out of whatever mess he got into. So I wonder if this scandal that Bill dealt with had something to do with an affair or an accident while engaged in an affair. First, because politicians and sex scandals, that's common. And second, because of the nightmare Martin had on the sofa, and apparently that's an ongoing issue. Also, when Martin was talking to his husband, Smitty, he was kind of dismissive and demanding in the way that some husbands act with their wives, like, don't ask me about my business. Are the kids taken care of? What did you fix me for dinner? Those comments came off to me, I know this isn't the right word, as misogynistic. That's not quite the right word, because that's for the way a man talks to a woman. You get the vibe. I don't know if there's a different word when a husband is talking to his husband, but you get the idea. This whole ordeal, though, in the end of Dani having to sit through the home wrecker's wedding happens because her sister Nicole's son did a thing that nobody can find out about. And I can't wait to find out about it. I'm excited to see the wedding. I certainly hope it's messy. If Beyond the Gates' first soap wedding goes smoothly, I will be terribly disappointed. I love a good brawl, and the best soap weddings are those that go explosively bad.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.